Listen closely. The difference between the wealthy and the financially struggling isn't luck, inheritance, or even talent. It's this simple truth I learned managing my first million-dollar deal 15 years ago. Those who measure their money religiously become masters of it, while those who ignore the numbers become slaves to their impulses. Money flows toward measurement like water flows downhill. You know what's fascinating? Last week I was having coffee with my friend Marcus, who just sold his third tech startup for 8 figures. He told me something that perfectly illustrates today's topic. When he was broke at 23, living in his parents' basement in Montreal, he had no idea where his money went. Pizza here, subscription there, random Amazon purchases everywhere. Sound familiar? But then something clicked. He started tracking every single penny, not just expenses, everything. His time, his productivity, his learning hours, his network growth, even his sleep quality. Within 2 years, he launched his first company. The secret wasn't magic, it was measurement. Here's what most people don't understand about wealth building. You cannot improve what you refuse to measure. I've seen this pattern across hundreds of employees I've managed, thousands of clients I've advised, and every successful entrepreneur I know personally. The moment you start quantifying your financial life, you gain supernatural powers over it. Let me share something personal. 8 years ago, when I was building my consulting firm, I was making decent money but felt financially scattered. I knew my revenue, sure, but I wasn't measuring my profit margins by client, my time investment per project, or my actual hourly worth. I was flying blind in a Ferrari. Then I implemented what I call the measurement matrix. I started tracking 15 key metrics every single week, not just income and expenses, though those are crucial, but deeper numbers. How much was I investing in my education? What was my return on networking events? How many productive hours was I actually working versus just being busy? The results were staggering. Within 6 months, I'd identified that 20% of my clients generated 80% of my stress, but only 30% of my profits. I fired those clients. I discovered that I was most productive between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., so I restructured my entire day. I realized that my highest paying opportunities came from referrals, not cold outreach, so I doubled down on relationship building. But here's where it gets really interesting. I started measuring things beyond money. Warren Buffett, who I had the privilege of hearing speak at a conference in Omaha, once said something profound. The most important investment you can make is in yourself. So I began tracking my learning metrics too. Books read per month, new skills acquired, connections made with people smarter than me. You want to know what happened? My business revenue tripled in 2 years. Not because I worked harder, I actually worked fewer hours, but because I measured what mattered and optimized accordingly. Now, before we dive deeper into the specific metrics that changed everything for me, I need to pause for just a moment. Creating this content takes serious time and resources. I spend hours researching, organizing these insights, and sharing strategies that have literally transformed my financial life and the lives of my clients. If this video is adding value to your journey toward financial independence, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button. Your subscription encourages me to keep delivering this high-level content that can genuinely change lives forever. Trust me, what's coming next could be worth millions to your future self. All right, let's get back to the metrics that matter. Here's what I track religiously and what you should start measuring today. First, your true hourly worth. Not your salary divided by hours worked. That's amateur hour. I'm talking about your total income minus all work-related expenses, divided by actual productive hours. When I calculated mine honestly, I was shocked. I thought I was earning $150 per hour, but my true worth was only $87. That realization changed everything. Second, your investment in future self. How much are you spending monthly on books, courses, networking, health, and skill development? My mentor, a real estate mogul from Dallas with over $50 million in assets, told me he spends exactly 15% of his gross income on personal development every single month for 40 years. Think that's a coincidence? Third, your leverage ratio. How much money do you make while you sleep? This is where the wealthy truly separate from the middle class. In France, I met an entrepreneur who owns 17 businesses but works only 4 hours a day. His leverage ratio is insane. 90% of his income is passive or semi-passive. Here's a funny story that illustrates this perfectly. My cousin in Mexico City used to brag about working 80-hour weeks at his corporate job. He'd post these hustle culture quotes on social media, thinking he was winning. Meanwhile, his neighbor, a quiet guy who owned 3 laundromats, was making triple his income while playing golf every afternoon. Guess who was actually measuring and improving the right metrics? The beautiful thing about measurement is that it forces honesty. You can't lie to numbers. When I started tracking my daily habits, I discovered I was spending 47 minutes a day on social media, but claiming I had no time to read financial books. The cognitive dissonance was painful, but necessary. Let me ask you something, and please share this in the comments. Where are you watching this video from? Are you in the US, Canada, Mexico, France, or somewhere else entirely? Because here's what I've noticed. Regardless of country, the principles of measurement remain constant, but the applications vary dramatically. For instance, in the United States, I tell my American clients to track their credit score monthly, their 401k contributions quarterly, and their side hustle income weekly. The tax benefits and investment options are incredible if you measure and optimize them properly. In Canada, where healthcare is different, I advise measuring your TFSA contributions, your RRSP optimization, and especially your real estate investment potential. Toronto and Vancouver real estate taught me that timing plus measurement equals wealth. But here's the universal truth. Whether you're in Paris, Montreal, Mexico City, or Miami, successful people measure obsessively and improve systematically. They don't guess. They know their numbers intimately. The biggest mistake I see people make? They measure too many vanity metrics and ignore the vital few. Your Instagram followers don't pay your mortgage. Your LinkedIn connections won't fund your retirement. Focus on metrics that directly correlate with your financial freedom. Start simple. Pick 3 numbers that matter most to your current financial situation. Track them religiously for 30 days. I guarantee you'll discover patterns that will transform your relationship with money forever. Remember, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets improved. Your future self will thank you for starting today.